Okay, so continuing on, as I said, we're gonna find the height of what this second floor is gonna be, and basically the second floor, when you get into the main project, that second floor, it's gonna be the same height of whatever the existing warehouse roof is at, because obviously we want to maintain kind of the same scale. So the easiest way I find the heights of buildings when I'm doing, um, when I'm doing this type of kind of creating a 3D site is I just use Google Earth, because it's the easiest and the fastest way. If I don't have access, the shape files that I get through HGIS don't give you the data, for height wise for the buildings. So I just use Google Earth. Obviously, for this building itself, it may be something that when we go to site, if we can measure it, maybe it's something that we want to try to measure. But for Google Earth, for this purpose, I'm just going to use Google Earth for now. So you can see if you hover your cursor, and I don't know if and this is for any of you that may not know this, but if you hover your cursor over like a street or the parking lot, you can see over here there's a foot height right there. Let me move this so you can see it clear. So you see here, like, so right now, if I'm hovering over the street, it's saying 16 feet, um, which, so that's like a 16 height base elevation, and when we did ours, we came up with like 12'6". Um, so obviously that's kind of like the things of being a little bit off with the contours, and like I said, if you had more strict contours from like every 2 feet instead of the 5 foot contours that I had, we'd be a little bit more accurate. But for this purpose, we're bringing the site up to 0 feet anyway, so it's not, we kind of renamed it as 0 feet for the ground plane, so it's not a big of an issue. So that's at 16, and the roof. So now, if you hover over onto the roof of this building, it says 39. Yeah, so it says 39 for all three. So I'm just gonna say it's 40, and I like to round it to 40, so it's kind of even numbers. And then obviously, so that's 16 minus 40 would give you 20. 16, 40 would give you 24, I believe. So now we know that warehouse is at 24 feet. So this second floor, I'm going to say, is at 25 feet. Because obviously, we had the first floor up one. Well, actually, now I think about it, if we say this is at 16 feet, and this is at, so basically, so if we went by the actual 39 feet minus 16, that would give us 23 feet. So that would be obvious, that would actually be 23 feet above this 0 feet. So really a 22 foot high. So actually, let me do that. So we have a 22 foot high building. And the other thing that you could do is you could always click on this line and see it gives you a dimension from the previous level. So I could have just said that I'm 22 feet above, or I could drag this to this one. So I can drag this dimension between the two levels. So if I drag it to the other, then we're 23 feet above the ground plane. So that's what I did for that level. And then so for the third, and then you can see that we have a roof, but I believe we're gonna between 4 and 5 actual floors that you guys are gonna have. So I'm gonna add a couple more floors, and it's easy to add floor levels. If you go to the architecture tab and click on level, it allows you to add more levels. So if you just start from one end and go to the other, and then you can see how this one, it put the level on that, it put the tag on that side. I can just uncheck and then check over here, and I'll add the level. So I want this to be I'm just gonna say it's a 104, and then third floor. And then when you said, like, I think I talked about this in the kind of the tutorial A, and this just kind of renames the levels. So you just hit yes to that, and it renames those levels here. And then this, I'm actually going to do 14 feet above this. I'm not sure if that's going to be the actual dimension, but you guys can update that as as you guys get into the project. Once once you guys know the actual heights of the buildings. So this is going to be a 105 fourth floor. And again, I'm going to set this as 14 feet. The next level, we start from this side. What actually works. So this one is going to be a 106 fifth floor. And again, that's going to be 14 feet. And then the roof is going to be now a 107 for the roof. And then again, we'll say that's 14 feet. Then obviously, if you did go, there wasn't a fifth floor, if there ends up not being a fifth floor in your project, you can just delete out that fifth floor, change this and move the roof down. Or if you ever need to add another level, you could. So that's the roofs. So you can see that there's probably a little bit of a parapet if I zoom in. Can't see it from there. Yeah, you really can't see. So I'm going to go back to this. But if you see, there's probably a little bit of a parapet. So what I'm actually going to do is for these walls, I'm going to select all the walls, and so I get a little bit of a parapet. Once I add a roof, I'm going to go a top offset of say 2 feet, and that's just to give me a parapet, a little bit of a parapet height. So now to create a roof, I'm just going to kind of use a floor to do a roof. Obviously, I could do the roof command and not have it have a slope, but it would just end up being a floor. So I'm just going to call it a floor. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the inside of the walls, because since we have a parapet, the walls go past the floor. And I'm going to do the same one roof on the same command. Obviously, I could do 3 separate roofs because there's 3 different buildings, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do them all in one. And then you see here I'm using the split tool to just kind of split that line so I don't have to draw a second one. And that's the split over here as well. Actually, let me look. Yeah, there's a little split. So good, now they're all closed, and obviously I don't want no height offset, and I want these to go up to the second floor. I want this roof to be at the second floor, and I don't want to attach the walls to them. So now you can see that the roof is there, and since I added that 2-foot top offset, there's a little bit of a parapet created. It may be a little too high. That's something that you guys can. Hopefully, maybe we could see that, or depending on what how the building is. So that's that. Did I go up a little bit? Yeah. So this wall actually, I should have made this wall here. There we go. And then you can see, since when I created the roof, I had it go on, I picked that wall as a face when I did the roof boundary. So whenever I move this wall, it knows to take the roof with it. So that's kind of like a nice thing about Revit too. Another nice thing about Revit, so when you start to connect stuff like that, it updates everything for you. So that's pretty much that building, and that's kind of like how you start to design an actual building with a building pad and then the walls and stuff like that. That's the right way to do it, and how you'd actually go with structure and all that stuff. Now, what I'm gonna do for the rest of the wall, the buildings, is just like a quick tool, to kind of like model in 3D, like a cube or like a volume quickly, so the buildings are there, and so it's done. So I'm gonna go back to the site plan, and I'm gonna do this building, the one that's already existing, but I'm gonna do it as this was the way that I told you. So I'm going to go to Model in Place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Architecture tab. I'm going to go to Model in Place, and I'm going to click on, and this is going to let me model in place. And I'm going to do a category. I'm going to choose as walls, just so it's a wall category. And then I'm going to say I'm going to call it surrounding buildings. And now once I'm in this, it gives me these kind of forms that I can use. So these are different types of extrusion tools. There's 5 of them, and you can hover over them, and it'll give you a video of what they do if you hover over long enough. Eventually, I think in my videos just might not be working. And then it gives the same 5 tools as a void form, so that I can subtract something from an extrusion that I made. But for these, I'm just going to do a straight extrusion, and I'm going to just click around here, and then I'm gonna hit the check mark. So now I have that building, and what I want to do is I want to find first of all I want to kind of drag it down a little bit, just so and if you look underneath, just so it goes a little bit below this surface, just so you can actually get a little bit of so it's not like floating, because as you go, because now that we reset the ground for our site as 0, it's going to start all these, if you start these at 0, it may be floating a little bit, especially as you get down to a smaller an area that may be like a 10-foot height for elevation. Obviously that would be floating a little bit in here, so that's why you probably just want to do negative a little bit, just so it kind of goes through and you kind of see that it's it gets cut by the site. And then again, you want to use Google Earth to find that height of that. So you want to say that this is at, again, this is around 16 feet. The height of this is again 39. So again, we probably should just make it probably the same. Just make it the same height as those. And to do that, I could type in the height, but since I have this already set up, this is the align tool, so I click the facade of the roof. I want to click this, and it aligns them. I don't know if there might be a little bit of a parapet to it, but we'll leave it for now. So that's like a quick way to get like a quick volumetric cube. So now you can start to see, the height. And now you can see that I clicked out of everything, and if I want to go back in, I can edit this, and I can click on it, click on that one, and hit edit again. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stay in this, so I can do every single building in this one kind of extrusion. So every single building will be in this one extrusion. So now, if I finish that one, and we come to 3D, you see that there's that that building's there. And then if I do another extrusion, I can do this building. Okay. So now that there's 3. So I'm going to end the video here, and I'm going to finish the rest and then continue on in the next video.